How's everybody? Did everybody have good holidays? Right on, good deal. And how's YouTube? We're up and going. Well, welcome everybody, and first meeting of 23, so let's have a good one today. And with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Kathy, you want to lead us in the pledge, and then Pastor Richie will do the invocation.
Let's pray together. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for your presence with us here, your presence with us wherever we are. We thank you for your love, for your grace, your mercy, your forgiveness. Lord, we want to honor you today and pray for your blessing on this meeting. We pray for your blessing, Lord, on our county supervisors and their families. We pray for your blessing on all of our county law enforcement and our county workers, and we pray that you'll watch over them and bless them in every way. We thank you, Lord, for the moisture that we have that fills up our reservoirs. We count it a blessing from you. Lord, we pray for your blessing on this meeting and your presence and your wisdom and direction and guidance for those in leadership. And we commit this time unto you now. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Richie. Okay. So we're going to start this one off right off the bat with presentations. 2A, update on the activities of Resolution Copper Mining Project. Vicky Peasy was going to be here, but instead we have Anna and Mark, right? If you guys want to come on up and give us your presentation, that'd be great. Now, Mike, sometimes you got to talk pretty close to it.
And thank you, honorable supervisors. For the record, I'm Mark Cardenas, manager for consultation and partnership for Resolution Copper. Just a really fancy way of saying I'm the lobbyist for Resolution Copper. Also, my counterpart, Ana Vargas, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Ana Vargas. I'm a community engagement specialist for Resolution Copper. So I am here located in Globe, Miami, and making sure that the community and the company kind of have that center part to make sure that everybody's communicating and if you guys need anything or vice versa.
Thank you. She's the one that tells us when we're messing up locally, and then she fixes it for us. So she does a fantastic job doing that. Just want to provide a quick update on what's to come in the year 2023 for us, and also just speak about a little bit of what we did in 2022. Where we are at in terms of permitting, we are still working with the U.S. Forest Service, wrapping up tribal consultation. As those of you may know, about 2 years ago, our environmental impact statement was published and then rescinded for additional consultation. The U.S. government sent out letters to all of our consulting tribes. Out of those consulting tribes, 5 of them sent letters back requesting an additional consultation with the U.S. Forest Service. The U.S. Forest Service had a meeting where they were all invited, and all 5 tribes sent delegations to consult with the U.S. Forest Service to provide their opinion and some adjustments as to what they wanted to see out of a reissued final environmental impact statement. And when the U.S. Forest Service actually sent out a second letter asking if everyone was okay, the other 4 of the tribes, which are Hopi, Gila, White Mountain Apache, and Yavapai Apache, they said they were okay. And so we are slowly making progress. Indications that we've heard from our contacts within the U.S. Forest Service are saying that they are now wrapping up tribal consultation. They wrapped it up at the end of last year. And hopefully they are adjusting the environmental impact statement because that does have to be changed as a result of the wildfires that did happen in the previous years. Some of the fires did touch our land, and so the value of those lands that we propose to exchange with the federal government have changed as a result. And Supervisor, we were honored to have you come visit us this past year. And I don't know if you drove in my car. My car drove us up the hill by itself, but I hope.
Electric car.
Yeah, I hope people were too
Yeah.
afraid because it.
Yeah.
We also visited
Yeah.
this
Oh
year as well.
yeah. My car drives itself, so it's a very interesting thing. And it wouldn't let me drive by itself here because it was snowing too much, and it told me it couldn't. In 2022, also, along with having the wonderful supervisors come visit us, we were honored to provide scholarships to four four young students from Globe High School, including Jaslyn Grice, who is a daughter of an employee here. We're very honored to have some great people that were recipients of the Resolution Copper Scholarship, where they can then achieve higher learning and hopefully come back and do some great things in the community with that increased knowledge. And then we also awarded one scholarship this past year to a student at Miami High School, of which my good friend and colleague here is a graduate of. And then also we are committed in 2023 to increasing our involvement in Hayden. I know that some of the feedback that we've gotten is that we're pretty good at having our ear to the ground of what's happening in Globe and Miami, but Hayden, we do need to go out there, and so we are committed to sending our communities teams out there, and then we'll report back at a later date this year to show that we have made progress in that community. Some of the things that we have going on in Gila County, the multi-year partnership that we have with the Gila House Domestic Violence Shelter, incredible importance to us, to the tune of $50,000 a year that we'll be giving to the Gila House to help women who are victims of domestic violence or from their spouses. We also did support the Globe Unified School District Robotics Team. Also, as part of our partnership with the Arizona Diamondbacks, on STEM night, the Globe High School robotics team actually did come to the stadium, and they demonstrated their robots for everyone in attendance, and it was an incredible thing. I was actually there that night, and they're doing things that I would have never been capable of when I was in high school. Also, the Copper Corridor Economic Development Coalition, and then also Arizona Highways Television. We partner with them to film a segment on Globe in Miami in 2022. The Arizona Strategies for Economic Development Master Planning in Hayden and Winkleman. And we're looking forward to including Miami in that. And in this year, our good colleague Brian Sepula, who's head of economic development for Resolution Copper, is totally on top of that, and he's brilliant at that. Also, the sponsorships and donations that we're very blessed to partner with the community this year, with the Gila Community Food Bank, Gila County STEM Summer Camp, Cobra Valley Youth Camp, Old Dominion Days, Miami Fiesta, Miami Car Show, Miami Historic Stairs Project, Hayden Winkleman Little League, we did sponsor that as well, and the Winkleman Christmas Toy Drive. And Supervisor Klein, per your suggestion, we did send about 8 pallets of water to Carrizo this past year, when they were dealing with issues with their water supply.
Thank you.
We were very honored to do that, and we can't help the community if it's not for your input. So thank you for that, Supervisor. Really do appreciate that. And then also in terms of local active engagement, we do represent, actually it's mostly Anna. We represent Resolution Copper on the following boards and communities in Gila County: the Globe Rotary, Miami Rotary, Bullion Plaza Museum and Cultural Center, Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center, Gila House Domestic Violence Shelter, Gila County Cattle Growers, Globe Robotics Mentors, Globe Miami Chamber of Commerce, Winkleman Natural Resource Conservation District, and the Copper Corridor Economic Development Coalition. And so for the local spend that we've done in Gila County last year, we spent $1.6 million investing in the local community, not only through payroll through employees, but the partnerships that we're very honored and blessed to have, and we look forward to continuing in 2023.
Wow, thank you. Well, if you guys just hang tight, we'll see if Supervisor Christensen, do you have any comments or questions for these two?
Thank you. Good morning and Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Mark and Anna, for the report. You guys are great partners for Gila County and the people that live here. So we wish you all the success in the world. If there's anything that we can help you with resolving some of the tribal concerns or anything like that, then we'd be happy to be there for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Really do appreciate it.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, thank you very much, one, for taking me to a mile deep. That was an experience that I still vivid in my mind. I appreciate that very much. And I thank you very much for the work that you do in trying to be part of the community. Before I met you, when Brian was doing a lot of this, you know, it really shows that through the years, the whole company has gone far and beyond to be part of the community and help the community. So thank you very much for that, and ditto with Supervisor Christian. If there's anything we can do, by all means, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had one question for you guys. Is there any kind of ballpark figure you have in mind that this consultation's when it's gonna be over and done?
We're looking forward to it being released in Q2, quarter two of 2023. What we've said internally and what the U.S. Forest Service has acknowledged that if it isn't released by Q2 of this year, then it looks like we're going to the next election cycle. And so everyone is kind of all hands on deck, not only us locally, but Rio Tinto globally, our resources in Washington, D.C. and Australia to make this happen. And we have very good contacts with the U.S. Forest Service, and our congressional delegation as well has been very supportive of us.
Well, good deal. Let's hope it gets over with sooner than later, and you guys can move forward. That'd be really great. And I echo everything these guys have said. You guys have done an awesome job, and we're glad you're here. So, thank you both for being here
Mr.
this
Chairman?
morning. Oh, sorry, James, go ahead.
Quick question, if I might. You may not be able to answer very much. When the environmental impact statement does get approved, which it will, how does that change? What does that change for resolution? What does that change for our region, our communities, and that, if anything?
Sure, and happy to answer that question.
Menlove.
Yeah, Mr. Menlove. So kind of how the FEIS is going to work is that the U.S. Forest Service has said that they're going to give us and the public a 120-day notice before they publish. And then after that, that starts the 120-day clock, and at the end of the 120-day clock is when the land is officially exchanged and we get deed and title to the land that we're proposing to mine. Once that happens, we have about $750 million to spend that we'll get from our paymasters in Australia in order to build another shaft and actually go into sink into the ore body and actually tunnel around the ore body to get the character and feel of the entire ore body. We're only looking at one side right now, which is very favorable, but the entire thing has to be looked at in order for us to determine how much we're going to need to spend later, and what kind of employees that we'll need, what kind of contractors we'll need, and the actual expertise in underground mining. And so immediately off the bat, we have a rather large amount of money that is waiting for us to be given to us in order to spend, which will instantly start increasing local employment, whether it's through contractors or direct employees. So we're ready.
So that's one thing I, Mr. Chairman, haven't heard, that there will be a third shaft, so will be 3 shafts?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that'll be the immediate thing that we begin starting on, which is it'll be about 1,000 feet east of our current footprint, which is where the actual ore body is, the other side of the ore body.
Wow. Cool. Well, we look forward to it. So if there's anything that we can do, I'm sure, just holler and we'll take it from there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, honorable supervisors. And if there's any one of your, and for you, Mr. Christensen, if you ever want to come visit us, we're happy to set it up and take you underground as well.
It's a really cool trip. So thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to 2B. We have a public recognition of about 11 employees. And Erica, I'm going to turn this one over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As mentioned, we do have 11 employees that have been nominated, for this month. I am going to request that we table Mr. Kenneth Sadathite's nomination. He is working on the roads today, so he wasn't able to make it. But moving onward, our very first item is a group nomination for Jerry Moore, Perry Wyrick, Charles Spelink, George Noblia, Trent Moores, Lisa Modglin, Carrie Bartling, and Danny Irish. Their nomination form read, "Over the past several weeks, we have moved our offices into the new courthouse. We have been so thankful for all the help received from our facilities crew, as well as the IT department, that have had so much to do to help us move on top of their daily duties. They did everything from moving boxes and TVs and computers to moving a very large elk head and then hanging them up again. So thankful for the willingness to do so without a single complaint or sigh." And this was submitted by Cheryl Slider. So first and foremost, we have, and some of these employees are located up in Payson. We have Jerry Moore, who's been with the county a little, almost 9 years. Jerry? And if you'd like to say anything. Next, we have Perry Wyrick, who's been employed a little over 6.5 years. Perry? Charles Spelink, who's been with the county 4.5 years. Trent Morse has been with the county a little over 1.5 years. Lisa Modglin, who's been with the county over 22 years. Carrie Bartling, who's been with the county in this season a little over 2.5 years, but she wasn't able to make it today. Next, we have Danny Irish, who's been with the county a little over 9.5 years. Danny?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And next, we have a spotlight nomination for Cheryl Wellington. Cheryl's spotlight has read, "Cheryl Wellington demonstrated outstanding customer service on June 29th. Cheryl assisted an elderly lady who came into the Payson assessor's office. The elderly lady was completely exhausted, distraught, and stated she had walked from her doctor's office and needed a ride to get her medication at Walgreens. Cheryl did not hesitate at all and offered to drive her to pick up the medication at Walgreens and then drove her back home in Cheryl's personal vehicle. Cheryl even took her lunch early to help out. So way to go, Cheryl, for assisting senior citizens in our community." And
Good job.
totally independent of her job duties, Cheryl's personal actions reflected well in the county. And Cheryl has been with the county almost 18 years. Next is Dwayne Dowler. His spotlight nomination read, "I had the opportunity to work with Dwayne Dowler from Public Works. Here at Public Health and Emergency Management, we're currently in the process of reorganizing and purging our warehouse. When Dwayne arrived, vehicles were blocking the area where the roll-off needed to be placed. Dwayne was very patient while we found the drivers of the vehicles. Dwayne worked with our deputy director to secure a safe location for the roll-off while ensuring parking access for clients and employees. Dwayne was very friendly and chipper even though it was 40 degrees and raining. I appreciate Dwayne's customer service and his ability to go above and beyond an uncomfortable situation." And this was submitted by Health and Emergency Management staff. Dwayne has been with the county over 6.5 years. Dwayne? And that does conclude our spotlights for this month.
Thank you, Erica. Supervisor Christensen, you have any comments or thoughts?
Always really proud of all of our workers. You guys are great. Appreciate it. And it's very encouraging to think we're going to have probably the best year going forward now. We have the best employees, and I'm just very encouraged. Thank you all.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to all of those that go a step above to help us, help the constituents. Thank you.
Same goes with me as well, and congratulations, everybody. And thank you, Erica, for doing this. This is great. All right, moving on to 2C, presentation of October 31st, 2022. Gila County financial data as it compares to fiscal year 23, Gila County budget in fiscal years 22, 21, and 20 year-to-date performance. Maren,
Good morning.
good morning.
I guess I'm the unfun presentations to start the day. So Happy New Year, here's some numbers. This is our monthly report. I know it's a little out of time for what you're used to expecting. We are doing the best we can to accommodate deadlines and get things done. So on the screen, you have your bar chart for October of 2020, fiscal year 23, as it compares to fiscal year 22, 21, 20, as well as the tall blue line, which is the 100% budget, and the year-to-date target, which is your lime green line. And you can see on the chart this morning that for October, we were at 50% of the annual budget compared to a 4-month target of 33%. So that's your grouping over here on the right, where the red bar is taller than your lime green bar. That increase is due to the $6 million that we got from the LATCF funding. It was expected money, we just didn't, we weren't expecting when it would come in, so that's just why that shows higher there. And then for our general fund expenditures, including encumbrances, as of October 31st, we were at 34% of budget compared to a 33% year-to-date target. We were 1.15 million higher than the same time in the previous year. That's attributable to our encumbrances year-to-date of 3.5 million, which basically means that our departments are being more proactive about using purchase orders and planning ahead. So that's actually a good thing. And that's all I've got for October. And if we can move on to November, or did you want to ask questions about October 1st, Mr. Chair?
You know what? I think we can just keep on moving through it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, okay.
2D, presentation of November 30th, 2022, Gila County financial data as it compares to the fiscal year 23 Gila County budget and fiscal years 22, 21, and 20 year-to-date performance. Now you're set, Marion.
Okay, I promise I will keep this short. So at the end of November, we were at 58% of the annual budget for revenues. Again, that's the block over here to the right, compared to a 5-month target of 41.67%, which is an increase of $7.5 million from the same time in the previous year. $6 million of that is the LATCF funding. And then the other remaining year-over-year increases, we had an increase of $680,000 in property taxes, $441,000 in excise tax, and an additional $250,000 in state grants. For expenditures, including encumbrances at November 30th, we were at 51.27% of the budget compared to 41.67% year-to-date target, which is $4.8 million higher than the same time the previous year. Again, that's because our departments are planning ahead, and of that $4.8 million increase, 3.38 of it is encumbrances, so they're expected purchases that have not been made yet. In addition to those encumbrances, the additional increases are related to, and this is just general fund, salaries and employee-related expenses are up 373,000. Aid to other governments are up 247,000. Travel and transportation is up 245,000. Fleet and vehicle charges are up 240,000, and support and care of persons is up 270,000. Support and care of persons, we are getting a refund from Altex and Access that we found out about last week. So that one will be net neutral. And then the travel and transportation is for our outsourcing of inmate housing in Graham County. And that is well under what we expect that contract to run. We have full capacity for that contract at 40 inmates per day, and the most we've been at is 26. So we still have plenty more capacity for that. It is a budgeted expense. Those are just increases over the previous year because we're using that contract more because it really didn't exist a year ago. So that's where we are, and hopefully you have more fun stuff on the agenda than the boring numbers lady.
Well, let's see what the questions will bring.
Sure.
Supervisor Christensen, you have any questions on either one of these?
No, just thank you so much, Marion. Really doing a great job, as always.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, thank you for the information, because it helps us see a bigger picture that without your information, it's not boring. It's very informative to help us see more of where we're at. And like you say, with the department heads and stuff doing a better job, maybe that's because they're more aware of where they're at, where they need to be. So we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, they are doing a very good job,
Yes.
all of them. So
Right.
that's a win for all of us and all of you.
Thank you, Marion. Without these good numbers, none of us would be here today, so you're good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
James, did you have anything on any of this? Are we good? Okay. All right, moving on to 3A, public hearings, information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application, county number LL-23-01, submitted by Camellia Larkon for new Series 6 bar license at the Pinewood Tavern, 6112 West Hardscrabble Mesa Road in Pine, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the license should be granted. Missy?
Thank you, Chairman and members. So Camilla Alacron, and I apologize if I mispronounced her name, submitted an application to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control for a new Series 6 bar license at the Pinewood Tavern located at 6112 West Hardscrabble Mesa Road in Pine. We had sent out all of the information in the application to all the various Gila County departments, and there was no pending county issues. The sheriff's office posted the application and the affidavit of posting on November 17th, and it was removed on December 8th. And after an internal review was conducted by all of our departments and elected heads and officials, and there was no pending issues. And after the posting, there was no pending issues from any bona fide residents within 1 mile radius. So I'd ask the board to actually open a public hearing to hear from anybody locally within a 1 mile radius of the property to see if there was any issues and make their decision whether they would grant or deny a license recommendation to the DLLC.
Thank you, Missy. Before we
Thank
do that, Supervisor Christensen, you have any questions for Missy?
No, thank you, Missy. I don't have any questions.
Supervisor Humphrey?
No, I have no question.
Neither do I. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Do we have anyone in Payson?
No one in Payson.
Do we have anyone here? No. I guess, is there anybody on YouTube? Okay. So with that, I will close the public hearing part of this and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license application submitted by Camila Alarcon for the Pinewood Tavern.
Mr. Chair, I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Missy. Number 4, regular agenda items. And so I will need a motion to adjourn as Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Information discussion action to authorize the submission and subsequent acceptance of an Arizona Librarians Fostering Resilient Rural Communities Ahead AZ mini grant by the Gila County Library District to the Arizona Library Association for the fiscal year 2023 in the amount of $5,000 designated to Gila County for the Hayden Library for the period of December 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023. Good morning, Elaine.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors. That was a long-winded one, wasn't it? All right, this is a grant that was a CDC national initiative to address COVID-19 health disparities among populations at high risk for COVID and morbidity, tough word, and mortality, including those in rural and under-resourced communities. So this is a grant that we're going to use for our Hayden Library branch. It is a grant that was funded, that will be funded to provide programs, a collection of books, DVDs on healthy choices, healthy activities, health in general. And the grant will also fund training for our library staff along with our district staff for strategies and foundational knowledge to be able to continue this past the grant period. We are going to also provide resources from our community partners that will be shared during some of these programs, and we'd like to try to bring in some of our own county resources. Our health department, for one, we've already been speaking with them to see what kind of things we can kind of correlate and work with them. So this is a quick turnaround grant. We didn't have much time to do this, and we are asking that you approve. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Elaine. Supervisor Christensen, any questions for Elaine?
No, thank you, Elaine, and congratulations on your new position. I have no questions for you.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions either.
And neither do I, but congratulations as well.
Thank you.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to authorize and accept the Arizona Librarians Fostering Resilient Rural Communities Ahead AZ mini grant in the amount of $5,000 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 4B, information discussion action to approve an intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 063271 in the amount of $46,172 to continue Smoke-Free Arizona Act services for the residents and businesses of Gila County from July 1st, 22 through June 30th, 27. Paula, good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year, Chairman, members of the board. I just wanted to give you a little background on this because it's been a while since we presented. So this actually was November of 2006 is when the voters approved to have Prop 201 Smoke-Free Arizona. And so it prohibits any smoking in most enclosed public places and places of employment. And one of the things that we do is we provide any education or enforcement that's needed. most of you know, it's the 20-foot restriction from smoking in a building. And also, we provide education to the employers on how to educate their employees so that they understand there is no smoking, and there is actually lots of resources that they provide through the state, including signage and offering help with policy building in order for employees to abide by the no smoking. So we do educate when we go out on inspections, because this is done through our environmental health specialists. And they actually go out, and if the employers have any questions, they can educate them at that point, help them with resources. And this gives us a little bit of money to actually do that. In the last year, looking at the annual report, and there is reports done on these, there was only one complaint, because this is complaint-based. So if the employer asks for education, we do provide that. But if there is a violation, it's done by complaint, and there was only one complaint in Gila County. And that was addressed with no fines. So we are asking that you will approve this intergovernmental agreement to continue to provide the education and enforcement for the Smoke-Free Arizona Act.
Thank you, Paula. Supervisor Christensen, any questions?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Paula. You guys do such a great job. I have no questions, though.
Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Thank you, Paula. It's a good deal. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve an intergovernmental agreement, contract number CTR 063271 in the amount of $46,172 to continue the Smoke-Free Arizona Act services from July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2027.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Paula, are you going to stay for the whole meeting?
Yes, I will be here.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for your approval.
Okay, moving on to 4C. Information discussion action to adopt resolution number 23-01-02, appointing Maren Blythe Bailing, Finance Director, as a Chief Fiscal Officer for Gila County as required by Arizona Revised Statutes. James Minlove.
Mr. Chairman, as required by Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 41-1279.07E, I'm requesting that you appoint Maren Belling as the Chief Fiscal Officer for Gila County. Maren Blythe Belling.
Blythe Belling. Something new we learned about you today, Maren. Okay. Supervisor Christensen, any comments or questions?
No, I heartily agree. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Humphrey.
I'm full agreement, yes, thank you.
I'm there as well, so I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 23-01-02.
And I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, James. Thank you, Maren. On to 4D, information discussion action to approve amendment number 7 to an intergovernmental agreement, contract number D120-002263 between the Arizona Department of Economic Security and the Gila County Community Services Department to include the total value of the itemized service budget of $616,568 for the period of July 1st, 22 through June 30th, 23. Melissa, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This amendment number 7 is our base for our CAP program that we have, the Community Action Program. It's an amendment that they readjust numbers after the first of the year, July 1, and added some additional dollars from carryover to us. It also changed the way we do utility services from this grant, and It's an online service now. We are called, for lack of a better word, navigators now of DES's online services, and we help people through that process. So that's not our only utility dollars, but that's our main ones, and we're doing it a little different now, so.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Supervisor Christensen, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Melissa. You do such a great job. I really look forward to this, this upcoming 2023 and all that you'll be doing. I have no questions.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, thanks for organizing all these grants and different pots and pools that you're able to draw from to help the
like-
constituents. It's a constant juggling act, and I would imagine, like all grants, if you're not good at juggling it, that then there's probably money out there you don't get. So I appreciate your time, energy, and effort in finding it and helping it.
Thank you, Melissa. So this sounded like a good thing. You ended up with more money out of the deal then, basically.
Yes,
Okay, good job.
for this year. No, there was just an election, so.
Well, let's hope it keeps going. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve amendment number 7 to intergovernmental agreement contract number DI-20-002263 with the Arizona Department of Economic Security in the amount of $616,568 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
4E, information discussion action to authorize the termination of the grant and agreement award number NR 229457XXXXC003 with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, for funding from the Emergency Watershed Protection Program, EWPP, for the bushfire area. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is a request to terminate the cooperative agreement number NR 229457XXXXC003 with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. This is for funding for the Emergency Watershed Protection Program for the bushfire. Some background information. On December 7th, 2021, the Board of Supervisors approved and signed documents from NRCS for the bushfire flood mitigation projects in the Tonto Basin area. The NRCS agreed to fund $930,248.25 for approved projects with a combined cost of $1,240,331. The Emergency Watershed Protection Program requires a 25% match from Gila County. The county's match was $310,082.75. The projects that met the criteria for funding through the Emergency Watershed Protection Program were Landing Wash, Tonto Creek Trail, Lazy JR RV Park, and the Sycamore Creek near Mattis Hill Ranch. The original deadline for the agreement was September 8th, 2022, and that was extended to January 31st, 2023. However, due to the complexity of the engineering design, utility relocations, public outreach, and required easements, the process has taken longer than anticipated. In conclusion, with 2 CFR 200.340, Gila County Public Works agrees to the termination of grant agreement number NR 229457XXXXC003 per the section titled Responsibilities of the Parties, A27(4). Gila County requested the termination, and NRCS responded on December 12, 2022 with the termination notice for the agreement. On the good side, Gila County is pursuing another grant resource from NRCS. This is be under a different program. It's the Watershed and for Flood Prevention Operations, WFPO program. And this is also through Department of Agriculture. If the county's application is accepted, this program should be accepted and will allow more time for the county to complete the projects for the bushfire in the Tonto Basin area. So as a recommendation, Public Works recommends the termination of the cooperative agreement in our 229-457-XXXXC003 with NRCS.
Thank you, Tom. Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the information. I understand we have really no choice but to withdraw. It's too bad that on a complex project like this, that they wouldn't give you enough time to at least pull everything together. So pursuing another grant is what we'll have to do. But I appreciate all your efforts, Tom. Thanks.
Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, it's real hard to say goodbye to almost $1 million on infrastructure in the district. That's just hard. And I guess my question is what are the odds of us being accepted for these other grants for these particular projects? And do these projects fit the criteria for the grants?
We think we do fit the criteria for these projects down in the Tonto Basin area. The process is much longer and more involved. It's a typically 5 to 7 year program from start to finish. We think and we believe that we can shorten this by several years just because of the amount of work that we did under the EWP application. There's no guarantees, of course, but we do feel confident that we have a good opportunity to get these projects funded.
Oh, okay, the money that we have spent in gaining information for these projects, will that help us expedite work if we are accepted by those other grants? I mean, because 5 to 7 years, how much damage is going to happen in 5 to 7 years? Especially for like the little mobile home park and stuff, if it continues to be in a flood zone for the next 5 to 7 years without any help, what's going to be the damage then? And so I don't know. I'm torn with this one. And so I guess I'm just I'm wanting to get a warm fuzzy feeling out of this, and right now I'm just not getting it back. So the information that we put in for these grants are for the damage done up to now.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Is there wiggle room if there's more damage in the process of these grants for, another washout through that area?
Yes, because we do have a design under the EWP program, so we have that at 100%. However, because this process is much longer, 5 to 7 years, again, we hope to shorten that several years. If we do get additional damage, we will incorporate that into our design and add that to the request for funds.
Okay, looking at the future, is this something that we learned did we maybe not reach far enough, or NRCS didn't give us enough information to realize that there was better funded money out there than for the grants that we put in? Because the grants that we put in for had to be completed in 120 days or something like that?
The EWP program was 220 days, and it was, we knew it was going to be a difficult to meet that deadline just because of public works projects requires so much work in advance, public outreach meetings. We started with our initial design. Our design consultant immediately notified us that we had to develop a more robust design in order to mitigate the problems on these areas. And so just through the process, we realized that we were not going to be able to meet the deadlines. It was 220 days. We couldn't even start work until after the monsoon of last September, but the program expired September 8th. So we could not even have started work until after the project was expired. We put in for a time extension. We was hoping to get enough of a time extension to cover the projects, but what we got was it wasn't enough time.
But we'd still have a year to complete those projects had we started them.
Well, no, we had 220 days, so it was about 7 months. From the time we signed the agreement, we started the design work with our consultant. And we were supposed to have design, public outreach, easements, acquired utility relocations. Everything was supposed to be done, including construction, by September 8th. And it was just too short a time period.
Okay. So next time, that would be not even a grant to apply for because we can't get it done. In the required things that they need and the time that we have to do it, we can't facilitate a grant like that going forward. Is that
Public
correct?
works projects, it's very difficult because
Okay.
you have to go through design, public
So
outreach.
at least we did learn something from this, and maybe these other grants will work, and maybe put in for different grants in the future to not spin our wheels and end up saying bye to $1 million.
Yeah, I think the lesson we learned is the EWP program is great for very small projects where we're pretty much ready to go. This new program, the WFPO, is more in line with what we're looking at now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't like termination, anything like this. And I'll be upfront with you. I kind of like Mr. Christensen said, we're probably in a corner and going to have to do it. But, you know, dealing with NRCS has not been an easy process. We've pushed on funding, and we've tried to work with them on everything for all these fires because basically we didn't have any other avenues to go but through NRCS. So, my first question is, how much money have we spent on this EWP project so far that we were working on?
Just the time that we've put in with our personnel, that's really the only money we've spent so far.
Nothing on consultants?
That has been reimbursed. We did get a grant from Department of Forestry. It's going to help reimburse those costs.
So I hope we did learn something through this, is that, you know, a little bit of homework up front when we look at those grant applications and it has those limited days, we don't go there.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's a hard one to explain to our constituents, to say, hey, yeah, there's $1 million sitting here, but Gila County can't get it done, you know? Mm-hmm. Not everybody understands that, and it's up to us three sitting up here in front of you that's gonna have to explain this. And so I hope this WFPO grant money does work out and we're able to do it. The other thing I would question too is going forward in the years to come, we have more of these projects or more of these issues, let's say, whether flooding or fires or whatever. You know, what kind of light is this going to show on Gila County as far as NRCS goes? When we start working with them, are they going to have the attitude, you guys can't get it done anyway, so what's the deal? I don't like it. I don't like anything about this termination at all. I just want to make that very, very plain. And I don't think we have a choice but to do it. I understand that. But by golly, we don't need to do it again. And so with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the termination of the grant and agreement award number NR 229457 XXXXC003 with the Natural Resources Conservation Service for funding from the Emergency Watershed Protection Program from the bushfire.
Mr. Chairman, I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks for standing up there and discussing that though, Tom. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to F, information discussion action to award a contract in response to invitation for bids number 101122 Russell Gulch Landfill Stage 3A expansion in the amount of $2,801,096 to Meridian Engineering Company. Melanie Mendez, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. This item is to award contract number 101122 to Meridian Construction for the Russell Gulch Landfill Stage 3A expansion. Through the years, recycling and landfill management saved revenue to prepare for its necessary and inevitable expansion. The flood and fire debris from 2021 and 2022 were not factored into the original capacity reports, and managing those debris has slightly expedited the need for expansion. The Russell Gulch landfill averages 84 tons per day, and realistically, the landfill will reach capacity in about 1.5 to 2 months. That's going to depend on daily tonnage and tonnage fluctuations. Although we've tried very hard to stretch the landfill's capacity, we may need to haul some waste to the county's other waste disposal site, the Buckhead Mesa landfill in Payson, during construction. The estimated time of completion for this project, if approved, will be near the end of April 2023. The April date is contingent upon the notice to proceed. After evaluating the bids, it was determined that the most experienced and responsive contractor is Meridian Engineering Company. The department's recommendation is to award contract 101122 for the Russell Gulch Landfill Stage 3A expansion to Meridian Construction Company in the amount of $2,801,096.
Ready for questions?
Yes.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Melanie. I have a few questions or comments, I guess. A massive amount of money, $2.8 million. So I'd like to get with you sometime just to let you know, and we'll set this up, but I'd like to talk to you about our landfills a little bit more, this one and Buckhead. But this item and the next item, I guess my question is, I don't have a history of this landfill that much. It seems like a very expensive expansion. And so I just, to no fault of your own, but maybe years ago, 20 years ago, 30, whatever, was there any planning that could have been different that would have alleviated some of this cost? In other words, are we paying for things like moving a lot of dirt that we could have moved ourselves at one point or used, or things like that? The philosophy and profitability of a landfill. So it's just an enormous dollar amount to me. And so I'd like to have a discussion with you about that, and also this green waste that's coming up, as far as whether or not we're making choices for our future that, say, a non-governmental landfill would be thinking of as a business dynamic. Anyway, that's just a comment. I don't know that you have to respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen and Chairman. I have a plan for our landfill going forward, especially starting after the expansion takes place. I'm going to have a company come in and train our staff to construct the landfill correctly, to utilize all of our airspace, as well as not burying things that don't have to be buried in the landfill, such as cardboard, electronics, possibly mattresses and cans and metal and things like that. I can't speak to what happened before I got here. I've done a lot of investigation. I have a lot of reports. And I do know going forward that we're going to maximize our landfill to the best of our ability.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, and thank you for that. And I look forward to talking with you more about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey.
On this expansion, what length of time is this expansion expected to take?
The contract gives 100 days. So we're looking at the completion date would be April 23rd. If that means if we don't have inclement weather, if we don't have supply chain issues, All of those are addressed in the addendums. There's 5 separate addendums on the contract. If we do have bad weather, it might delay the project slightly.
Okay, and so, well, I guess I'll ask other questions later. Okay, thank you.
Melanie, thank you. So I have a couple questions. First off, is your buildings there we're gonna demolition part of those buildings, right? In-house,
Mr. Chairman, yes, we are.
after the assessments are done?
The asbestos, are you referring to asbestos? Okay, so that was already completed. The remediation is actually happening today. I got a text message right when I sat down, and it's finished. So the demolition should start Monday.
So one of I think the Big Ten building is gonna remain?
Yes, the formerly known as the bike shop is going to be the new landfill building for now.
Okay, then in the future, it'll be demolished or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, so this expansion is gonna start here real soon, and you're anticipating 100 days?
Yes.
And when you talk about this 84,000 pounds a day coming through the scales, is that relatively consistent for the last year, or is that just in the last few months?
So over the last year, for 2022, an average was about 110 tons per day. Over the course of the years, we average about 84 tons per day, which the reason why it's higher this year is because we have a large amount of material coming in from San Carlos. So otherwise, it would be around 84, and that's consistent. Yes, it goes up, it goes down, but usually around there.
Okay, so just that we're all clear on this, what we're voting on 4F is to proceed with the 3A expansion.
Yes.
Okay, that I'd entertain a motion. Oh, James?
Mr. Chairman, a little bit of information, Melanie, if I might, that actually this $2.8 million for doing this is actually much less than was expected. It was expected that this expansion would take over like $3.5 million or
I think we were looking at $5 million.
up to $5 million. So we're less than $3 million, and so they've really done a good job in getting the price reduced. Handling garbage is very costly and very expensive, and moving all that dirt, and it's part of the EPA, the requirements of there has to be liners and everything, that none of the things that are put in the landfill, and Melanie, you can describe this much better than I can, all has to be contained. None of it can seep down into the groundwater, into the water table and that. So a lot of EPA requirements that drive the cost up. It's not just pushing dirt around doing that. It's being compliant with federal government laws and regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Menlove, Mr. Chair. That's correct. There are a lot of EPA regulations, and a landfill is basically a live organism where the liquid goes down, it's pumped out. There is a lot of regulations and a lot of work that goes into it, and if constructed right, it's a good thing.
So there is a lot to it, Melanie.
Yes.
I read all the background on your expansion and stuff like that, but I already realized that just dealing with Buckhead Mesa. But just for suggestion going forward in the future, this is a good work session topic that Melanie could set and really explain all the ins and outs, and that may help Supervisor Christensen and us as well. So I think that'd be a good thing. Are we good? Okay, let's carry on. I take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to award a contract in response to invitation for bids number 101122, Russell Gulch Landfill Stage 3 expansion in the amount of $2,801,096 to Meridian Engineering Company.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
G, information discussion action to authorize advertisement of invitation for bids number 121822, chip and truck green waste for the Russell Gulch landfill for the removal of green waste. Melanie?
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to advertise for the chipping and trucking of green waste material from the Russell Gulch landfill to a biomass facility. Beginning July 2021 to present, the Russell Gulch landfill in Globe received nearly 5,300 tons of green waste that is stockpiled on site. The area where the current green waste stockpile is located is an area designated in the Russell Gulch landfill Stage 3A expansion to house a stockpile of earthen material, or otherwise known as dirt. This dirt will need to remain on site and be used in the process of the new cell once built. The dirt will also be used for cover and daily cover of the new cell. Of the green waste stockpile, 2,399 tons are a result from the flood that occurred in July 2021. Landfill staff purchased a green waste chipper to chip the green waste on site over a year ago, but due to supply chain issues, the chipper did not arrive until late September 2022. Using the chipper, landfill staff is able to chip 10 tons of green waste per day, and that's when staffing permits. Going forward, the landfill's chipper is sufficient to process incoming daily green waste, but we must process and haul away the existing pile to make room for the expansion. The department is requesting to advertise chipping and trucking of approximately 4,050 tons of green waste.
Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. I have no questions.
Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, I have questions. Questions is, a lot of this green waste that we have was distributed up there while we were cleaning all of our creeks from the floods. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Okay,
correct.
and kind of where I'm at with that is we put that out for bid. I'm just wondering on the green waste, if some of that state money for flood and fire mitigation, if we couldn't put in for that funding to help us with the green waste removal, because we received a big majority of that from cleaning the creeks from the fires and floods. And I guess I bring that up because it's all taxpayer money, but it's a difference between state taxpayer money and Gila County taxpayer money. And so I wonder, has that been investigated to see if that's a possibility?
Thank you for your question. The money that was paid to bring the debris into the landfill, I believe was paid out of that fund. So the tonnage that we collected, we did collect a fee as it came across the scale. That money, I do believe what came from there, from those funds.
Okay. Okay.
If there's additional funds to process it, I'm not aware of those.
Okay, yeah, I that was just something that I wondered because we have it because of fire and floods, and so we paid a storage fee on it, but it's still our baby to deal with. And so
Yes.
that was one of my questions. And so in our landfill expansion, we will have a green waste area for green waste coming up. So I guess I'm wondering, are you planning on removing all of the green waste at this time completely?
The large stockpile of green waste, yes, I'm planning on removing it completely. That way we can process and manage the incoming green waste that we get on a daily basis. My plan for the green waste is to use it for what we call in the industry landscaping, and erosion control. So we would chip it daily and put it in areas where there's erosion and water runoff. And what it also does is it creates roots underneath the green waste to where the erosion doesn't happen. If there was more than we could process or use, we could always go back over the same areas. Then we'd also need to have an avenue to remove it from the landfill. It's not good to put green waste in a landfill for many reasons.
Okay, well, I'm still an advocate of trying to do composting as well. So that's why I was wondering if you're getting rid of all of it and kind of what avenues we were going to go. So,
if I may.
One more
Oh,
question.
okay.
How timely does this green waste need to be removed? I mean, is it something that probably needs to start now along with the expansion? So like a delay, if we tabled this for a little while, would jeopardize the expansion?
So I did have it put on today's agenda because it is really important to get it done. Even if we advertise, that gives us 14 days before we can even come back to talk about it. They're going to need to stockpile a lot of dirt and remove it from the area that the expansion and the pond are going to be placed. And there's no other place to put the dirt besides where the green waste is. So I don't have another place to store it, so it would need to happen right away.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answers on the questions.
So, where do I start? So once we take it across the scales, it's our responsibility is what I'm getting at. And I know that Marion was nodding her head that DIFM did pay to put that across our scales. So who knows after that, whether or not there's any other money out there to deal with it. So just for my curiosity to start with, the price we got for it coming across those scales, how would that match up with the price that we would contract that stuff out to chip and haul? Are we gonna be going in the hole on this?
Possibly slightly break even.
Mr. Chairman, all of these costs that we're talking about here for the green waste, we will explore reimbursement with DIFM. So we'll make sure that we can get, that there's as little out of pocket for the county as possible.
Okay. I really don't like these last minute deals. I'll just be totally honest. I really don't. I think when we have these programs, we need to be acknowledging far enough ahead there's an issue that we need to be dealing with. You know, I'm kind of in favor of Tim. I'd like to have some more information on this before I want to say yay or nay or whatever on this as well. So I understand the room. You know, you are pressed for room. I get it. I just do not, I don't like being in a hurry. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, but I think I'll make the motion because this information on what it's gonna cost, I think would be good information. But that doesn't mean I won't maybe want to table that information if it comes before us for a go-ahead. So anyway, with that said, I move to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bid number 121822, chip and truck green waste for the Russell Gulch landfill for the removal of green waste.
Mr. Chairman, I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? I'm opposed. 2 ayes and 1 opposed. Motion carries. All right, moving on to the next one. Melanie, you got stacked on here today.
I did. Thank you, Chairman.
4H, information, discussion, action to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bids number 121922, trucking solid waste for the removal of waste from Russell Gulch landfill to Buckhead Mesa landfill during the construction of the new cell and pond at Russell Gulch landfill. Melanie?
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to advertise for the trucking of solid waste from the Russell Gulch landfill in Globe to the Buckhead Mesa landfill in Payson. Again, the flood and fire debris from 2021 and 2022 were not factored into the original capacity reports for the Russell Gulch landfill. The department is in process of expanding the landfill. The Russell Gulch landfill averages 84 tons per day, and realistically, the landfill will reach capacity in 1 to 2 months, depending on daily tonnage and tonnage fluctuations. Although we tried very hard to stretch the landfill's capacity, the landfill currently has a stockpile of C&D, construction and demolition waste, and broken railroad ties for a total of 3,503 tons. The stockpile of C&D waste and railroad ties is in an area designated in the Russell Gulch Landfill 3A expansion to house a stockpile of earth and material, or dirt. This dirt will need to remain on site and be used in the process of the new cell once built. The earth and material will also be used for cover and daily cover of the new cell. If we bury the stockpile of debris in the Russell Gulch landfill, we will meet capacity in half the time as previously stated, approximately 3 weeks to a month. The expansion project will be complete 100 days after the notice to proceed. The completion date may be April 23rd, 2023, if there's no inclement weather or supply chain delays. The project may take longer. Recycling and landfill management will inevitably be required to haul waste from the Russell Gulch landfill to an alternative disposal site. The advertisement for trucking services is a proactive approach to ensure solid waste services to the public and commercial businesses. The department is requesting to advertise for trucking of solid waste from the Russell Gulch landfill in Globe to the Buckhead Mesa landfill in Payson.
Thank you, Melanie. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Melanie. I just feel like I don't know a lot about what we're doing here. I think like what Supervisor Klein was saying, it's like we've allowed the Russell Gulch landfill to get to a point of emergency action, and so rather than planning. And I know that's not your fault or anything like that. I guess we have to do what we have to do during the construction. So I really don't have any questions unless you have a comment. Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna be hauling stuff for 100 days to the bulkhead landfill, what are we gonna do to the bulkhead landfill? Are they ready for this? Do they have the manpower to compact and deal with twice the garbage that they've been getting?
Thank you, Supervisor Humphrey and Chairman. Yes, I actually am the manager of that landfill as well, and the waste will be compacted before we truck it over there. And we're in the process of hiring. We are short-staffed at the time, or right now, but we're in the process of hiring more people. We have some interviews set up, and I've been in discussions with the supervisor of that site, and he believes that we can take that waste over there. It's going to double the intake. However, we have room.
And I would also like to thank you very much for your intelligent answers and for looking forward in where we're going, because I really feel like you've been thrown under the bus on this one, because you're new here, and here you are bailing water to keep our ship afloat. So I feel like you were thrown under the bus because you're new here. So I put a lot of it back behind you. And I appreciate you helping us deal with the things that we're having to deal with now.
Thank you for that.
I'm finished.
Melanie, I agree with what you just said, okay? So please don't take this personally. But I do not like hauling this to Buckhead. I don't. Okay. So what other alternatives have you thought of, or that may possibly be out there that we could look at? Are there any?
As far as ADQ compliant alternatives?
We have to abide by the law.
There's really not a whole lot out there besides hauling it to a disposal facility. We're doing everything we can to find space in the landfill. And like I said, this is a proactive approach because we want to have a landfill for the public, and we want to stay open, and we want to have those services available. If airspace, when we're out of airspace, there's not a whole lot we can do.
So the ball got dropped on this somewhere behind you, okay? We're 2 years after our emergencies with the fires and the extra waste and all that. Somebody should have had enough foresight then to say, hey, look, this is gonna create a problem. We already knew that Russell Gulch was coming up for an expansion. So, like I said, please don't take this as anything against you. Lack of, I don't even wanna go there, so, what if, this is gonna cost us some money to do this. That's gonna come out of the enterprise fund. That's gonna be spendy. I don't like adding that extra tonnage to Buckhead. I know you say we have room up there and everything. I'm not comfortable jumping into this without at least a little bit more time and looking into things. Please don't get me wrong, there's no way we're gonna leave the public hanging with no landfill, okay? I really don't see that the county would ever do that. But we're already in the 11th hour, and we need to, I may get outvoted here, but we need to look at any legal other alternative, if there are any that we may have. And with that, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chair, before I go to the motion, this trucking of waste, is it an emergency? Does it have to happen like, okay, you say the green waste, you need the room. So us starting to truck solid waste to Payson, is that an emergency? Is that something have to happen right away?
So I can actually take the waste that's stockpiled and place it in the landfill. And we would be looking about a month that we would possibly need to truck the waste over to Payson. Again, this is a proactive approach. It may sound like an emergency, but if we do it now, we know what it's going to cost. Then it won't be as much of an emergency a month from now when the landfill's filled up. Additionally, I don't think that anything would come from any other funding because we are an enterprise fund. We would basically break even for the months that we'd be hauling to Payson. I've seen some rough numbers from some haulers, and it's about what we'd be charging to take in would cost us to truck it.
Is it gonna cost us dollar dump day?
We can talk about that later.
Good response.
You don't have to answer that. That didn't come up for a board decision, and I think it needs to be a board decision. Anyway.
Thanks for the comment. That's a good comment.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that question because it wasn't on the agenda. It's not a board decision, but, okay, thank you.
James?
Mr. Chairman, I do want to make a comment that on items G and H, that these are both just a request to go out for a bid. It's not the board taking any action to actually decide whether to move waste or do anything like that. It's to go out to get quotes on it. And so we're asking you to get quotes, find out what the cost is. In the meantime, before there is an actual decision made to whether we move the garbage or the green waste or whatever it is, we can get additional information. But this is just, can we go out and get quotes of how much it's going to cost to do this?
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I think that might be good information to make better decisions going forward once we know costs.
So I totally get it, James. I still don't like it. So, that's just where I'm at. And so I'll entertain a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion in a second. I just want Melanie to know that I really appreciate her and all that she does for us. I think she's really working hard to do the right thing, and we just need, as a board, to catch up with the landfills that we have. And I was going to mention what Mr. Menlove did say. We are just putting this out to bid. We still may not approve it. But at this time, I'll move to authorize the advertisement of invitation for bid number 121922, trucking solid waste for the removal of waste from the Russell Gulch landfill to the Buckhead Mesa landfill during the construction of the new Selland Pond at Russell Gulch landfill.
Mr. Chair, I will second that motion.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Is that some weight off your shoulders?
Yes, thank you so much.
But just so you know, that I appreciate these discussions on this. These are serious discussions, and it has nothing to do with you. So I think this is something going forward, we look forward to working with you and have some good plans for these landfills. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 4I, information, discussion, action to approve a voluntary pledge of general fund equivalent of 1% of Gila County's total local assistance and tribal consistency fund, LATCF allocation, payable over the next 2 years to the National Center for Public Lands, Counties, the center as presented. James?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with the money that has come down from the federal government that's part of the COVID monies that we received, $12 million, the Western Interstate region, their intent is to create this National Center for Public Lands, Counties. It's a intent to create information that can be used in Washington, D.C. So county governments, we'd like to have a partnership with the federal government in helping them to realize all the different things that are different than they are back east of what they, is there something that you wanted to?
No, you're good.
Okay. It's an education process. Many of our congressmen and representatives in Washington, D.C. are from the East, and the understanding of what the lands are in the West are not as detailed as they need to be. So this is an intent to create a partnership, create information that can be shared with the federal government, with our Congress. And we work with federal officials from all levels of government, private stakeholders and interested parties, and that Congress has invested record sums recently to support public lands counties. But with that, we have an obligation or desire to have Congress grant new authorities to federal land agencies to broaden the scope, pace, scale, and ground resources for management work with local governments. We must continue to tell the story that as these monies are allocated, we need to continue to be able to have the information that's important and necessary to give a solid background of what's happening and so that a greater understanding can be had. So with that, and being able to share that information with Congress and with the Washington, D.C., that we need to have the available resources and research that we can share with the Congress. Part of that, I kind of look at what we have at the County Supervisors Association that Vanessa Fielder has gathered together, and she's put together a website that's a dashboard that any of us counties, supervisors, and staff can all go to. This dashboard that County Supervisors Association has information of what tax revenues we have and all the different resources we have, what our trends are so that we can be able to make informed decisions moving forward. And this is an attempt by Western Interstate Region and NACO to be able to gather that information, to have a resource that we can all go to be able to have information as you have conversations with our congressmen yourselves, and be able to go to Washington, D.C. during those times and be able to work with staff and be able to have that information readily available. This is what the story is, and this is how we can share it with what is really happening on the ground, and that is oftentimes missed. The Senator will weave together the narrative around public lands and the national interests of what that means to the nation as a whole. And so it will be a resource for each of us, and particularly for western counties, PILT land counties, and being able to have that information and carry the story onward. I know, Chairman, that you frequently talk about that we've got things that go on with the county, and a lot of times we don't tell our story as well as we could or as well as we should. And a lot of that is having the information to be able to support and back up the story that we need to have. So this is something that is really important to us. This is the mission and objectives. I won't go through those, but we'll have a discussion as we discuss this further. The fundraising goal for this is that the money that we would allocate is not tied to the resources that we've gotten from the COVID money, but it is an amount of this $12 million that the WIR is asking that we set aside an equivalent amount from our general fund of 1% of the $12 million. So it would be $120,000 that they're asking to do that. If all the counties in Western Interstate region area were to contribute this 1%, it would create a trust, in essence a trust, that would be about $15 million. With that $15 million, it would be invested, and so the carrying on forward of this initiative would be on the investment earnings of that trust amount that's set aside in perpetuity. And with that money, it's not something that we're going to be requested to put money in from year to year, every year, to keep an ongoing thing, but to do an investment of information that will be ongoing for long term. I can't say forever, but it is intended that we'll do an investment one time, and that it will carry us forward in providing the information. Governance will be by the WER Executive Committee, and so it's a part of NACO and WER, and that they're the regular involvement that we have with state representatives through CSA that we have on WIR and NACO that would be involved in the governance of this new National Center for Public Lands Counties. So I went through this pretty quickly. I would be happy to answer any questions or entertain any discussion.
Thank you, James. Supervisor Christensen, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, James. I think the investment involved here is small compared to the potential gain. Is this something we've done in the past, or is this sort of a first year for us to do this?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, this is a one of a kind that we're doing, particularly with NACO and WIR, that we have not done this sort of arrangement or moved in this direction in the past. So it's new.
Okay. The problem that we have is we're extremely heavy in public land, but don't have a large voice. So I can see where this could be a benefit. Thank you, James.
Supervisor Humphrey.
I just get frustrated in having to come up with money for the government to do their job. But I think it's a good investment if we have to cattle prod them to do what they're supposed to do to start with. I guess it's a good way to do it.
Thank you, Tim. So it is. I don't have questions. I just have comment. And I've watched this unfold now for over a year since this all started. And so the $12 million the county has received is a huge boost for our public lands that we deal with, working on a 3% private side or budget. This will hopefully help us get that message to those folks that are basically east of the Mississippi River is what it's really targeted for. And even though that there's kind of a limited amount of folks out here in the western states, if we can consolidate all of our voices into one, that will be a huge help, a big plus for us. So it's definitely worth a try. I mean, for 120,000 and we get, 5 point whatever million dollars in our pockets. And if it works and we can pull some of those representatives back into our corner that are in those eastern states when it comes to public lands, a huge bonus for us. Every year we go back there on our PILT fly-ins and all that, but we have yet targeted the people we needed to target. And hopefully this will do that. So James, thank you for bringing this up.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
may I make a comment? The use of the word pledge is troublesome. This is apparently a non-binding action the board is taking, but pledge means promise, and it's a contract type language. I would suggest that you insert the word non-binding before voluntary pledge, so it reads action to approve a non-binding voluntary pledge if you're going to approve this. So it's not a contract. I don't like surprises. We're going to get more information later and a contract to approve, but we haven't seen any of that yet, so we don't even know what it says. So we can't approve it as to form at this point since there's not anything to approve.
Mr. Chairman, if I might make a comment along those lines with Mr. Dalton, that this is contingent on all the western counties, that if there's not enough counties that are willing to participate in this initiative, that it will go away. Because if there's not enough money that's going to be set aside to have an interest and income earning sufficient for sustaining the effort, then there will not be what was the word you used, a contract going forward. So that is why it's a pledge, non-binding. I'm fine. I think that's fine that we can go ahead and do that.
But then we just, whether everybody else agrees, but for example, this federal funding, one of the prohibitions is you can't use it for lobbying. And yet the proposition here is we'll use it for education. And I'd like to see the contract language that defines that, because we don't want to be in violation of the funding. We haven't seen the language, so we can't approve the contract. So I'd never advise a client to sign something they haven't read. We haven't read it.
So
This is what, Mr. Chairman, the County Supervisors Association understands the, I guess, kind of a pickle that we're in here of not having a contract ready, but wanting to know what level of commitment there are from counties in Arizona, 15 Arizona counties, plus all the rest of the counties west of the Mississippi, as was made note of. And I, as county manager, can't make a commitment of resources, potential commitment of resources. That has to come to the Board of Supervisors, of a potential commitment of resources. If it's approved, if we say here that we are going to a non-committal pledge, that we can take that to CSA saying that our Board of Supervisors is in favor of moving forward. And when it comes back with there is a contract, then that contract is presented, and that's when the decision was made. Do we contribute 120,000? And again, it's a commitment to make sure it's very clear that it's 120,000 commitment from county general fund dollars. None of these dollars that we received from the COVID allocations are involved in this. It will be strictly a general fund allocation, $120,000 to cover the investment into this center.
Mr. Chair, when you get a chance, if I may.
Go ahead, Tim.
I've asked this question a couple times already today. Is this an emergency? Is it have to happen right now?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Humphrey, it does not. It is they do need to know, CSA is requested that we have this done early in January.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just where I'm at, if our attorney's uncomfortable with it and it's not an emergency, I'm just thinking perhaps of tabling it to another meeting to give more information back and forth, so when it comes before us, we're a little more comfortable with what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. I mean, I understand why, but if there's a difficulty with our attorney, I'm not, again, I look for warm, fuzzy feelings, and I'm not getting it here.
It's kind of a chilly day all around.
I
Snow up in the
I
mountain.
wore my jacket, so I'm good, but I don't know about everything else.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Humphrey, the county CSA has requested that we put it on today's meeting. I don't know what the ramifications are of not making a vote, but it is, if that's the preference of the board, then I would support that. And we could put it off and have a chance to search out and seek for the warm fuzzy. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Could I make a, I don't know if I should, editorial comment of like the fires that we've had recently, the fires, the decisions and the way that the Forest Service and all the fires are handled out here in the West are made, for the most part, back in Washington, D.C. And just in being able to establish the protocols of how to fight fires in the West, wildland fires in the West, is, don't go there?
No.
Is our responsibility to educate those and to be able to put ourselves out there. And so that's, at first I was not really enthused about this, the whole thing myself, in listening to what CSA presented to us. There's been, as Chairman, you mentioned that there's been a number of presentations over the last few months. And I wasn't very warm, didn't get warmness from it at all. But in having listened to it and the potential for having that database and those resources to be able to say, this is what it's doing to our lands and how it's scorching the lands from these hot fires that burn and then nothing can grow for 5 years, and the devastation that handles after that. That's just one example of all the different things that we face. And having considered that and the options or the possibilities that we have of being able to gather that information and pull it into one resource, because if we have a fire, we've had those that came out and did research on the land here, but it's here for this, the Telegraph fire and the bush fire and all these different fires. We've got information for these different fires, but can we pull all that together, and does it give it more weight in being able to tell a story and give it more strength in being able to tell it the story back in Washington, and the intent of reshaping the way we address issues in the West. I think it's, me personally, something that we go forward. If we want to wait for a couple weeks, we can certainly do that. It's entirely up to you as a board.
So the point you make is well taken, James. That everything, not everything, most everything we deal with, because we are such a small county with very little public land or private lands, that most of what we deal with is on public lands. And we're constantly fighting for that, you know, whether it's the floods, whether it's the fires, whether it's saving our watersheds or water quality, everything like that. We're the ones that's usually in the front lines dealing with that. And so often it's other people that don't understand that. And this is a good opportunity to bring all that forward and really be able to explain the story of what we do to protect our constituents and to let them thrive at whatever they're pursuing. So, yeah, I'll call for a motion and see where it goes. How's that?
Sounds good.
You good with that, Jeff? Here we go. I'll entertain a motion.
With adding the
Non-binding? Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I
Okay.
move to approve the voluntary, non-binding pledge of general fund equivalent of 1% of Gila County's total local assistance and tribal consistency fund, LATCF, allocation payable over the next 2 years to the National Center for Public Lands Counties, the center for, as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I will second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Okay, moving on to 5, consent agenda action items. I have a couple I'd like to talk about, but does either one of you have anything on there you want to bring up to discuss?
Mr. Chairman, I'm fine.
Okay, so the two that I wanted to discuss was A and E. So I'd like to bring up A, and we'll do these one at a time. And then deal with them both at the same time? Oh, two different motions. Okay, so we'll start with A. We'll bring that one up, and that's the approval of amendment number 2 to professional do I have to have a motion to bring these up? Okay.
We would be pulling these off the consent agenda, and so a motion to remove them from the consent agenda and to consider them separately.
That's the motion I need. Either one of you want to make it?
A and E?
A and E.
A and E. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to remove 5A and 5E from the consent agenda action items and put them on a regular agenda item.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 5A, and it reads the approval of amendment number 2 to professional services contract number 072120 with Policy Development Group to extend the term of the contract for 1 additional year from January 5th, 23 to January 4th, 2024, in a not to exceed amount of $60,000 for professional lobbyist services. These guys, I wanted to bring this up for discussion with the other two of you. I feel like these guys have done an outstanding job, and they are working good. This is also an amount for $60,000, which should be pulled up on top anyway. And but I wanted to talk to the both of you and see if you feel the same way about our lobbyists that we've been working with, and that's a Bowman Group. And so I believe they've done us an awesome job. I believe the $60,000 is a good deal for the county. That's why I brought it up. Supervisor Christensen.
Well, I would agree, and thank you for taking it off consent just to have that. So Andy and Todd are great assets to the county. I have no issue with the value to the benefit here that we get. It's tremendous. Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, they helped get money through for the Woodbury fire to help my district in dealing with that. And I think it was the tune of like $3 million, which is a whole lot of money for us to spend 60 when they're helping the constituents with $3 million on just one occasion.
And I feel the same way. And another thing that I'm looking at these agendas, and just so everybody knows this too, is that when we have agenda items like this, the people that are on YouTube, they can't see that. And I think it's real important that as many of our constituents that we can know the folks that we're dealing with and know that the value that they give to the county in the work that they do for us. That's going forward, that's one thing I'm kind of going to be paying attention to on these consent agenda action items. And goes back to telling our story. The more we can get that out to the general public, the better it is. So I'd like a motion to accept this in the amount of $60,000 to Policy Development Group.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. And on 5E, approval of amendment number 1 to contract number RFGA 2022-02-02 with the Arizona Department of Health Services Bureau of Women's and Children's Health in the amount of $50,000 and 1 penny to continue the youth councils in Gila County until January 7th. So Paula, this is why I asked you if you're gonna stay, because I don't know if there's a lot of people out there understand the youth councils and what they bring to the county and how many of them there are out there. You see what I'm asking? And so if you could kind of give us a rundown, brief rundown on what we have out there and what this $50,000 is actually doing, so that the other folks will understand.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to come up and talk about this. This is a new grant to us that we were awarded in 2021. It's just starting to take momentum in both the Payson area and the Globe Miami area. They have both been established as the 2 youth councils for Gila County at this point. That being said, it doesn't mean that there won't be other youth councils if there's additional funding to go out into the more rural areas such as Young or Hayden-Winkelman. But at this point, the 2 target areas are Payson and Globe. Globe has identified their youth council. What this does is allows the youth of our communities to take a focus on one of the health priorities and move forward. And as you notice in the budget, it does allow for a lot of education, literature, arts and crafts, things that the kids can really get their hands on and start movements around health topics. And so Globe Youth Council has a focus of physical activity. So they haven't decided what they want to do with physical activity, but that will be their focus. The Payson region is still working on establishing their council. We're open anytime the kids want to come in and actually join the councils. They haven't decided on their health focus yet. There is training. The state does provide a lot to these leaders, the youth leaders of America. They do trainings for them. It really is a great opportunity for, say, a college application or resumes in the future for the youth. And they sort of have to come together and actually decide what changes that they're going to make in their community, what the issues are and what the changes will be. So it is it's just starting out. So we're working with a little bit of the tobacco-free youth councils to try to form this advisory council. But there are no restrictions. They can use whatever they decide as their priority. So it is I wish there could be a little more incentive for the kids to want to come in. It is difficult because we have to work within the school systems. And that's hard because obviously there's a lot of groups and other agencies that want to work with kids in schools. But this one will actually have some movement behind it. So it takes a little bit of traction to get going, but I think at this point, Shanae Casillas is our representative that's working every other Friday. There's a meeting, one in Payson, one in Globe, and she does travel back and forth to try to get the kids excited about it. So we do ask that you approve it for the next few years, and we can maybe bring back a report to you on how it's going, what they focused on, if that's something you're interested in.
It would be for me. Thank you,
Okay,
Paula. So
absolutely.
with that, Supervisor Christensen, hopefully this is new information for you that you can use.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Paula, could you repeat that? No.
Sure, no.
Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm impressed with our health department and everything that they do to keep people informed and the programs that they get and the grants that they're able to come up with. So thank you very, very much.
Me too, Paula. So I appreciate it. The one question I had, does this cross into the reservations?
It can go into, and mostly, if a lot of our students are from the reservation as well.
Sure.
So they're part of the youth council. Actually, Tobacco-Free Club last year was made up of about 4 Native American students.
Good,
So, yeah,
good deal.
absolutely.
So thank you for that, Paula, and hopefully some folks learn more about it. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 1 to contract number RFGA 2022-002-02 with the Arizona Department of Health Services Bureau of Women's and Children Health in the amount of $50,000.01 to continue the youth councils in Gila County until January 27th, 2024.
And I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you so much,
Thank
Paula.
you. Anytime you'd like to, us to present, please.
You
Feel
bet.
free.
Look
Thank you.
forward to it. All right, do I have a motion to accept the rest of the consent agenda action items?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to accept consent agenda items 5, B, C, D, and F through L.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Call to the public, are there anyone in Payson that, for call to the
No.
public?
No, there is not.
Anyone on YouTube? And I do not see anyone here, so moving on to 7 updates. Mr. James, you want to start?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. One thing is kind of a technical issue that all of our employees need to address, and that is that the state of Arizona, the legislature passed a new supposedly simplified tax return system for Arizona taxpayers, our employees. And as a part of that, all of our employees need to submit a new A4 form. That's the form that's related to the amount of withholdings that we have. The default is going to be 2%. Before it had been 2.7 had been the default. Now it's going to go 2%. And this will take effect. These forms need to be submitted to Human Resources by January 31st, 2023. If there is no A4 form submitted by the employee, then the default will be 2.01%. And Finance Department, Marin Blythe Billing, has those forms for us. But that's a new tax returns for Arizona is going to be supposed to be simplified, but my experience is it's going to be very confusing. Secondly, if I'm going to take the podium if I could, and Homer, if you want to come up. We've had a lot of retirements in our ranks in the past few months, and fortunately, we've been able to. When we do our recruiting, we say, well, we're not going to just pass this position on to within the county, because we want to make sure we have the best available. So we always do an open recruitment for all of our positions, particularly on senior management positions. And fortunately, we've been able to have internal candidates for a lot of Marin's one that was homegrown in the finance department, and she was our best candidate from a open recruitment to be our finance director. This Friday is essentially Mr. Steve Sanders' last day with Gila County, that he will be actively working. And with that, it's a little bit different situation, but Mr. Homero Vela has agreed to step into the role of our Public Works Director. And I wanted to make that announcement that so everybody's aware, Public Works will be aware that as of Monday, next Monday, January 9th, that Mr. Vela is the Public Works Director for Gila County. And I've asked Mr. Vela to come up and make any comments. And if you have any questions, comments, or issues that you would like to see Mr. Vela work towards or address that we could discuss here take a few minutes and discuss here, then Mr. Vela is here for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Welcome back, Homer.
Thank you, Chairman, Board. Happy New Year. I'm happy to be back with Gila County. And if that's all I had to say, that would be enough. But I do have a few more things to say. And it's about the things that I see, having actually spent time with Gila County and then coming back, you're able to reflect on what the organization that you were with and moving forward. But you know, I would say this about any place that I've been to. I remember one time I got to be the president for a joint venture in Venezuela. And I go to Venezuela to create an organization, and I wrote down the things I wanted to do. I had been to so many classes with AT&T about best practices and best processes and things like that, that I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. But you know what? It's the same wherever I go. And it goes something like this. I'm looking for an organization that is willing to have best processes, always looking for improvement in the way we do our work. That would be one of the key things wherever I go, wherever I've been, okay? The other one is I want best plans. I want to look forward, explore alternatives. I want to plan for tomorrow, whether it's for next week, next month, next year, or 5 years from now. But actually, you need all of them. Public Works needs all of those kind of plans. We need to be looking forward, not backwards, okay? The other one is a best organization. I'm looking for an organizational structure that supports the two things that I just talked about, not get in the way of the things that we're looking for. The organization needs to nurture and support the best processes and the best plans. And all of it is for one thing. It's to provide the best constituent service that we can. I used to call it customer service when I used to work for AT&T. But that's what we're here for, to provide a service, the best service that we can, not just any service, the best service that we can, okay? And that's those are the things that drive me as I look forward to working once more with Gila County. So earlier today, I was actually impressed with the recovery plans that were presented by Public Works. I'm not going to call them plans. I'm going to call them recovery plans. I was actually impressed with how the team got up here and expressed what now needed to be done. But I was also equally impressed with the board expressing genuine concern. You expressed your opinion, your genuine concern, and at the same time you offered input, and then you offered support. And I think those are the conditions that can drive us to have a successful team, the best team that we can have, the best processes. And it's with that and for that and because of that I'm happy to be here with you one more time. And I just wanted to share those thoughts with you because they come both from the mind and from the heart. And I do look forward to working with Public Works again. And I hope that the team and I can find that common place where we can be the best that we can be.
Thank you, Homer. It's good to have you back. Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Homero. This is great news for me. You know that I really appreciate you. I appreciate your approach, your logic, your intelligence, your experience. So I look forward to working with you, and we can help each other to make Public Works the best that it can be. There's always room for improvement, and so we just look for ways to make that happen. So I'm here to support you, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, in my comments, it's crazy because I go through my agenda and stuff, and I wrote this before I knew. It says, welcome, it was to staff and everybody else, welcome to 2023. Let's all work together to make it a great year. Let's see what we can accomplish without pandemics, fires, and floods. And I can't think of a better way to do it than to have you back to help us in restructuring in the areas of some of our retirement. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to know that retirement isn't for you, Homer. It's really good to know that. So, you know, I want to push this out, and not just for Public Works, but for all the departments. And I agree with what the supervisors are saying. You know, and when I think about us three up here on this board, we don't want to go backwards. I mean, the county has a board of supervisors sitting in front of them that want to go forward. We don't want to back up. We don't want to be stuck in the ruts that the county has been stuck in the past. We want the blinders off and we want to move forward. We have moved forward on some things. Sometimes it irritates me that we didn't move further forward, but in 23, I think this is a good year to do it. And I think this is a good year for the departments, especially, that they know that they have a board here that will support them, that will help them, whatever that is, to the best that we can. And I think that's a big message, and I totally thank you for coming back.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Homer. You good?
If I might, Chairman, offer appreciation to Mr. Vela as well. He's a tremendous asset to Gila County, has been. His 6-month retirement was
short.
Maybe I should go visit his wife and tell her, thank you for sending him out. But I express appreciation to Mr. Bailey. He has a lot to contribute to Gila County, and I'm so thankful for him and all that he gives to us. So,
yeah, it's huge. I mean, we could spend a lot of time talking about what we got done when Homer was here before, but, you know, broadband, what a project that was. Homer's a leader on it, so. Supervisor Christensen, you want to go next with updates?
Sure. Thank you, and I appreciate everyone accommodating me for not being in Globe today, but it works out better for me and things that are going on. But I don't have a lot to really report other than I just really feel encouraged about the fact that we've started a new year. I kind of look at it as new beginnings, new opportunities, and it's going to be a really great year. I'm very encouraged about a lot of the personnel changes that have been made, and it's just, I'm so excited. And we started off the year up here with a lot of new moisture, which I think we need to be very thankful for. And with that, I would just say Happy New Year to everyone, and I look forward to working with everyone over this next year.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, I'll hold a public meeting in Tonto Basin tonight at the Chamber of Commerce at 5. I'll hold a Roosevelt Community Meeting on January 9th at 1. I'll be on KQSS Radio on January the 9th at 5:30. And I'm not sure, but I think I'll have a Gysela meeting on the 14th, which is a Saturday at 9 o'clock at the community center. And so, yeah, I look forward to my public meetings. They're always interesting, sometimes more than others, but yeah, it's all good. And like I said, welcome to 2023. Let's see what we can do.
Thank you, Tim. So, yeah, I wish everybody a happy year this year and really look forward to it. I have a few updates. One is I'm going to be bringing back in front of us a renewal for the contract between Gila County and the Conservation Legacy. And if you remember, this is something we put into effect in 21, and what it was is $70,000 that the county put into a fund to establish 2 YCC crews, youth conservation crews. And one was going to be in Payson and one was going to be in Globe. And so we've tried to staff those crews, and we haven't been able to do it yet. We've had none of the kids interested in it yet. And this is something for you too, Steve, up there especially. We want to reach out again and try it one more year to try and get this going. It's a real good opportunity for the kids. They'll work with the Forest Service under this conservation legacy. And so they're going to be working in the different fields, you know, whether it's timber, recreation, biology, whatever it is there. So we really look forward to getting an early start on it and seeing what we can get done this year. And I believe if we can get at least one of these crews established and the word gets around, will have an easier time getting the other one going maybe in the future. So that's what we've been working on. The other one is a Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. The construction is doing good. I walked through it the other day with a guy that came up to look at the site, and the painting in the main building is done. The floors are done. It looks really, really good. And so they're starting on the barracks now, going to be working on that. And I believe there'll be some stuff coming up for the sewer system and some other things. And then the Ranger 1 house and Ranger 2 house will be coming up. But what they've done so far looks awesome. It really does look good. And so the nonprofit board for the retreat, Kathy and them had their first meeting here not very long ago. I sat in and listened to that. Very good meeting, very enthusiastic. The folks that are on it, they're ready to do something. And so that's really good. And then, as you know, I've been the chair on the workforce board between the three counties, Gila County, Navajo County, and Apache County. My term has been up for a while. I remained on that because it's basically upside down, and we're trying to get that turned right back up. And there has been a new executive committee that's been voted in, and they'll be shadowing us for a while we work through these issues, and then they'll be taking it over. We're going to be placing a new director with the help of Apache County, Gila County, and Navajo County as well. We're all working together to get a new director established on that. So I'm hoping that kind of works its way through the process real soon. And James, you have another thing?
I just want to comment that we have a new governor in the state of Arizona that was sworn into office yesterday, I believe. And thank you for approval of the Policy Development Group contract, because it's going to be changing of Democrat and Republicans in the governor's office will be significant, and that group, PDG, will help us to maneuver through that, which is going to be very tricky for a while. I bring it up because there are certain events, state of the state address, and those things that if you have interest, let us know as soon as you can. So because seats are very, very limited, and if you have interest of attending the state of the state address or some of these other events that come up here at the start of the legislative session, then let staff know so that we can do our best to make arrangements to have you in attendance if you would be so interested. But please be aware of the calendar. There's a lot of calendar events for the state legislature, and the new legislature starting in 2 weeks.
And so besides that, we have Representative Marshall that's come on board as well, and Eli Crane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good. Anything else from anybody? Supervisor Christensen, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
You good, Tim?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm fine.
All right. So with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.